Hi, it's Eliza Hirsch. The following episode of Ear Hustle contains language and content that may not be appropriate for all listeners. There's also a brief mention of suicide. Listener discretion is advised.
Do you think that the four of you have some kind of connection that other people don't have?
Oh, yeah.
We've been through a place where like a lot of these guys on mainline has never been. We're like brothers in war. We went to somewhere where no one been. I turned like, remember that time, this, and we can understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
We lived through our death sentence.
We made it. We made it out of the death block.
Recently, we sat down with four guys who spent a lot of years on death row at San Quentin.
They sure did. So there was Steve, who used to go by Cricket. He was on death row for how long?
35 years.
35 years, right. And then Cujo was about almost 26 years.
Right. Vo was 29 years, and Shaka spent 42 years on the row.
Today on the show, what it's like to spend decades on death row and then get off it. I'm Nigel Poor.
I'm Earlonne Woods, and this is Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia.
These days, San Quentin's death row is closed. But when it was open, it was really like a prison within a prison, totally separate from the rest of the population.
And the only time those of us who was on the main line would see guys on death row was when they were being escorted out to medical or something like that.
And they would be shackled.
Right.
Right. And then when they were walking by, you'd hear someone yell, escort.
Right.
And then you had to do this weird thing.
Right. They wanted you to turn away from them and face the wall.
And I always did it, Earlonne, and I don't even know why I did.
You know, some of these guys were notorious. Mm-hmm. And other people in the prison, they may have it out for them.
Right.
So anytime they left the row, they were in danger of being attacked.
Okay.
And since they're handcuffed and their ankles are shackled, they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. So making everyone turn around and face the wall is like a way of protecting them. What was it like when you were getting escorted across San Quentin Yard and people had to turn their back to y'all?
They made me feel like I was such a dangerous individual.
I felt shame, guilt, embarrassed.
Being judged, I didn't like that because like you walk and they go, escort, and everybody's looking at you, they're pointing at you, and me, I kind of like Charles Ng.
We just heard from Shaka, Steve, and then Vo. Vo's the guy who worried about being mistaken for Charles Ng.
Because Charles Ng was a serial killer, like one of the worst in California history, and everyone knew who he was because his case was so high profile.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who people wanted to deal with. And it could have been for a couple of reasons. Mm-hmm. One could be just based on principles of, you did some fucked up shit and we finna deal with you for that. Two, could have been like, I want to be somebody, I want to make a name in the prison system, so they attack him for that reason.
You want your own notoriety.
I want my own notoriety, so I'm going to flight you because I know I'm going to get put in the media that Earlonne Woods stabbed up Ng.
There's always one dipshit that go, hey, that's Charles Ng. It's like, oh, fuck, someone's going to jump me. I'm not Charles Ng.
So that's what these guys were used to for decades. Then that all changed.
Yep. In 2016, the laws changed. And it took a while, but death row at San Quentin has now been shut down and everyone has moved out.
Yeah, and we talked about this a bit in previous episodes, so we probably don't need to get into it now. But the important thing is that these four guys, Vo, Cujo, Shaka, and Steve, are now living with the main prison population at San Quentin.
Living in the same housing units, going to the same yard, and doing what everyone else is doing. What was it like going to a main line with no handcuffs?
I remember I haven't touched grass in 29 years. Mm-hmm. And the first time we went to the yard, I put my finger in there, pick up the grass. It was just amazing,
I got to duck it to go to dinner.
This is Steve.
And I was getting upset. Tell him, man, you gonna take me? He said, no. You're gonna take your own black ass down there. And it was new to me.
Mm-hmm. We used to be an escort.
I remember when they popped my door for medical. They go, you walk out that door, you go turn left. I was like, I ain't going nowhere because you're telling me to walk through a door and, you know, I'm not used to that. I had to wait for other people to go and I'll, you know, walk out slowly and like, is this cool? Okay, first of all, we're not cuffed. Mm-hmm. There's no escort and we can just walk? Seriously?
What about the first time you went to Chow Hall?
Surreal.
Can you describe that?
Yeah, it was wild because I remember they go, like, just follow these guys into Chow Hall. And I'm going like, after 29 years being fed through the tray slot, you're waiting and like, is there a spoon? Do I have to pick up a spoon? You know, like there was a little stress. Like what do I do? Because I've never been to a Chow Hall before. And you're just waiting in line and everyone's just like bored. And you're just like, the anxiety, you know, like, how do I hold this tray? Like, where do I go? And, you know, is there, yeah. I've done 29 years here, but I was like a rookie, like a newbie.
I'm standing at the door, and I saw people walking by. And I thought, wow, what's going on?
This is Cujo.
And people started going by real fast. And I thought they was either running from something or going to something. Put my back against the wall, and I started doing like I didn't know what was happening. They was walking so fast like that. The officer said, oh, gee, one of them knew where I came from. Said, no, calm down, they just going to chow.
I'm more comfortable in the cell eating than out there. Mm-hmm. When I'm there, I'll eat like one or two things, but I put everything in a bowl and take it back to my cell and eat it.
To this day, if I'm not carrying anything, I still do this. Even now, after 38
So
years
can
now,
you describe that because it's audio? What were you just doing?
Raising my arms.
As if they're shackled.
As though the waist chains are still around my waist. I catch myself sometimes raising my arms to my waist like I got the chains on.
Is there anything any of you miss from death row?
A couple officers that worked there, if I got out, I would have bought a dinner. But other than that, no. I don't miss the handcuffs. I don't miss the isolation.
Look at Bo. He's really thinking.
I'm just at this stage in my life now where, because of my experience, is who I am today. And I feel so much stronger today. I'm not scared of death. Even though I'm still in prison, just getting out there was just 29 years there. You know, I'm at peace. I mean, I lost a lot of years, but I'm good.
That's what I was trying to say, at peace with self.
Yeah. A lot of guys out there, you know, they're walking around, they would complain about stuff. And it's like, dude, you just don't understand. I'm just so grateful to just be here, even though it's prison level 2. It took that experience to make me understand what I have now.
Death row's empty now, right? Everybody's moved out. And they're currently, what do we say, like renovating it and turning it actually into an honor dorm?
They're gentrifying it.
Yes, they are gentrifying death row. And it might actually turn into a place where the residents of San Quentin actually really want to be. Yeah.
They want to be on the row, huh?
Yep, the honor row.
But until that happens, the place is empty. We'd asked Vo, Shaka, Cujo, and Steve if they would go back to East Block one last time with us so we could like see it through their eyes, like what was it like to live there for so many years?
Yeah. Well, this is what we were hoping to do today, and I want to know if you're okay with this. We were going to actually go with each of you to your cell and talk to you about what life was like when you were in there. Is that too much for any of you to do?
No. I'll be all right.
You're okay? It's Steve, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. You definitely look nervous.
I am, but I'll be all right.
Okay. All right. So if at any point it's too much, let us know.
Right up over the door, they had condemned.
They had East Block Condemned Row.
They painted over that. But for those that was there, We know what it is. We know what's under that paint. Yes.
Yeah, they did. There was a big old sign up there. Paint said East Block Condemned Row.
Any thoughts before we actually go in?
No, not for me.
There was a real heaviness to Steve as he walked into this building again.
Yeah, I think we all thought he was going to bolt, but the other guys rallied around him and encouraged him to keep going.
Don't worry, I'll push him in. I ain't gonna let him turn around.
That part is over with. Look, that part over with. You know,
No, I'm fine.
We just
that's
visit.
the abnormal part.
Yeah, it's just a visit. That's it. I don't know how many times I walked up and down that stairs.
It's been a long time.
So Death Row looks pretty similar to the other housing units at San Quentin. 5 tiers, a line of cells, maybe 50 cells on each tier or something.
Yeah, if you didn't know it was death row, it wouldn't
You would
stand
know.
out.
I mean,
No.
it looked a little more secure
Yes.
than the rest of the units.
Okay, you're right about that because I remember there were also on the ground floor this row of cages
Right.
that are about the size of a phone booth, if people know
Right.
what that is.
Those metal cages are used as holding cells.
I can't even begin to tell you how many times I stood in the cages. Whenever you went on a visit, whenever you went to medical, came down for an interview, they put you in the cages. People would urinate in the cages because the officers wouldn't take them back to their cell.
As we were walking across the first tier, Cujo pointed out this big square outline in the middle of the floor.
That was a death watch cell back there. Yep, so if you got an execution date, they would put you in one of those 2 cells that was caged off, and they would shut it off from the rest of the tier, and the officer would sit out here with a gun. It was all caged off. If you got an execution date, you have to have a death watch cell. This was it.
How many people were executed?
13.
13.
So we started walking into the cells, and they're pretty much like regular San Quentin cells,
Yeah.
Toilet, sink, bunk, shelf.
Yeah, except it's a one-level bunk. There's just one.
Yeah,
right?
and that makes a lot of difference too.
The guys are single cell status, all
Yeah,
of
they
them.
get to kick back, live alone. And the first cell we stopped by was Shaka's.
Shaka, can you describe where we are?
My old stumping grounds.
How long did you live in this cell?
From 91 till 2022. What's that? 30 years?
30 years.
How old were you when you walked into the cell for the first time?
I was 31.
31. And how old were you when you walked out of it?
I was 63, 62.
Next up was Steve's cell, and when we got there at first, he didn't go in. He just stood out in front for a while.
3EY55. And how long you spent up in here?
Altogether, 35 years. Oh, man. A lot of trepidation. I'm not scared, but I have this foreboding thing in my back of my head that it ain't cool.
Are you sorry you agreed to do this?
No, I mean, maybe it'd be therapeutic for me.
Erlon, do you remember this? We were standing in front of his cell, and Steve was just quietly praying to himself, like literally praying that the cell door wouldn't open.
Please be locked. Yes.
But it opened.
Oh, man. Let's get this over with so we can get out of here.
How did you decorate this place to make it comfortable?
I painted it here. But I didn't keep no pictures, photographs, none of that.
Nothing? Why?
Too hard. Reminded me my family too much.
Steve was a young guy when he came to prison, and this was his first crime.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know anything about prison life.
No. So you were in your 20s?
No, 19.
You're 19.
3 months removed from my 18th birthday.
Can you describe the kind of what you were like if I met you?
What I was like?
Your
I don't
personality?
even remember that person no more. I was a happy-go-lucky kid who was on a football scholarship. Threw it all away.
On death row, guys spend almost all of their time in their cells. But once a day, they could go out and get some exercise in this special yard.
A lot of shit went down on them yards. You know, this is back in the day, back in the 80s, you know what I'm saying, when San Quentin was rah-rah.
And one of the most famous people on death row at that time was this guy named Tookie Williams.
Stanley Tookie Williams. He was one of the founders of the Crips.
First day here. First day. Go to yard with Took. And it was that fee did that to him. I was shocked. I was 19 years old. What the hell is going on here? I thought he was playing.
So it's a little hard to hear, but what Steve is saying here is that his first day on the yard, this guy named Fee came up and stabbed Tookie. I mean, Tookie was sitting right next to him, and he stabbed him in the head.
I'm like, what the hell? What the hell going on here? And then I grew up.
What changed in you?
Came hardened right here in my heart. I can still picture that.
Do you remember coming back to your cell after that?
I cried. I had never seen that.
I had gotten close to Robert Harris. They put us next to each other.
This is Cujo. When he got to death row, there had been no executions in California for 25 years.
But in 1992, they started up again with the execution of Robert Alton Harris, who was a neighbor of Cujo's on death row.
We used to have conversations with each other and play Battleship. I said, Battleship, what's that? You know.
The game?
Yes, that's all he did.
Battleship is kind of the perfect game for death row because you don't have to be able to see each other.
Exactly. So you just have to call out coordinates like A7, B3.
Almost like chess,
Yeah.
same kind of way. You know, and he would have E1 or E2, whatever, you know. And I caught him a few times cheating. And he caught
caught
me a
him
few times,
cheating?
and vice versa. Once I learned the game. And
then
that
what
was
do
our
you
favorite pastime.
You say it. What do you say?
Sink my Battleship.
Oh my God.
thing, you know,
That game was so
it's-
popular when I was a kid.
I remember it too. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, the real game. And he was really good at playing chess, especially from afar like that.
But he was good at playing chess, but he liked to play Battleship?
Battleship. Yeah, he was like a big kid at heart. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved Robert Harrison. And he kept saying all along, I'm going to be the first one to be executed. They want me first. They're not going to kill anybody until they get me first. I'm thinking he's just talking, but it was true for political reasons.
Have you heard this theory that the reason the state wanted to kill Alton Harris first after the long moratorium on executions was because he was a white guy, and they were trying to make the point that it wasn't being applied in a racist manner, that they weren't going to just execute black guys?
I can't see that having a place in the conversation because I don't think they gave a shit, you know? Maybe he just exhausted all his appeals first because once you exhaust your appeals, it's over.
I said, wow, this is real. You know, he was my best friend.
What was it like for you when he went on death watch?
It was heartbreaking. And I felt like I lost a family member.
Did you get to say goodbye to him?
Well, yes, I did. A day or two before, and they
How does
wouldn't
that-
let him.
How do you do
He
that?
came down. They wasn't supposed to, but they knew how close we were. And they walked with him down the tier and just, you know, say goodbye to me.
What is that like?
I cried.
Was he scared?
He wasn't. I mean, that's what bothered me in a sense, too. He was more concerned about us, you know, how we felt. You okay? Y'all, I'm good, man. Don't worry about me. A lot of people were sending him money from all over the world for interviews. First person to be executed, lots of money. So he was buying people who didn't have family members taking care of them or something, TV, whatever it was. And his last thing was he wanted everybody to have a pint of black walnut ice cream. That's
So
never
everybody
happened. Everybody that was on death row at that time got a pint of ice cream.
Did you get one?
Yeah, everybody. Yep.
What did you do while you were eating it?
It took me a while. It melted before I actually started eating it. But I ate it anyway as a kind of a salute to him.
Yeah. Did you think about him while you were
I
eating?
did. That was his favorite ice cream, and turns out that was my second favorite.
Do you remember the last thing he said to you?
He said, just stay strong, everything will be all right, and I'll see you in the next life.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know there's horrible things about being on death row. Is boredom also part of it?
Absolutely.
Here's Vo. How do you deal with the boredom of it?
Actually, on death row, there was a hobby program. And I crochet for 18 years. Really good at it, too. And
Wait, like what kinds of things did you make?
because of my niece and nephew, I was really good with stuffed animals. I used to make scarf, beanies. My niece loved Minions, so I'm really good at Minions.
I had some good moments down here, and
Like
I
what?
say that when I first came here, they had a rodent problem. They couldn't spray in here to get rid of rodents.
Cujo told us that he lived on the first floor, and sometimes critters would wander in from the outside.
It was kind of like a little TV show, a little nature show.
Yeah.
So they got a bunch of cats. Seriously, I kid you not. They had probably 50 cats running around of different sizes and ages. The ones that were the hunters were the younger cats. Every once in a while, birds, the windows were broken out, they would take a chance. If you throw some bread out or whatever, they would take a chance of swooping down trying to eat the crumbs, whatever you threw out there. Them baby cats would be against the wall in packs like the lions on them shows of the Serengeti. They'd rush out there and jump up in there and they'd catch the bird. They have to eat it really fast because the bigger cats would come and take it.
So y'all had a cool little National Geographic
Going on, exactly.
Got married 6 times.
Okay, so some guys on death row crochet,
Yep, and some guys watch wildlife.
and Steve gets married.
6 times?
My first one was my heart. And all the rest were just, because my family wasn't here, just loneliness.
And how'd you meet them?
Ads. They didn't have the internet back then.
Right.
Like newspaper ads?
Newspaper, Santa Rosa Press, Democrat, and what was the other one? San Francisco Bay Guardian. The women would have ads in there, and I'd write every one of them.
Like how many?
25.
Same letter to each one, or was it individual?
Same letter each one.
Can you,
No,
Please.
no, can't get up the game.
Oh, wait, you're still using this game? Are you married now?
No, but I'm hoping to.
If you come here, you have to find something to do.
Here's Vo again.
I think there's like 3 or 4 choices. Either you come here and you kill yourself, to this place is so bad that you start taking meds and you're chasing after the dragon, whatever, just trying to get the high. 3, you are so angry that any chance you get, you pass on that misery to somebody else. And then there's 4 that's like, you know what, I'm here and I want to change.
Do you recall how many people killed themselves while you was there?
It was quite a lot. I mean, I remember there was one guy that I knew well. His name was Russell. He got in trouble. He went to the hole. He was really unhinging. And then one day, I came by and said, "How are you doing?" He said, I'm doing great, Vo. I'm good, I said, "Well, it's good because you were kind of unraveling." He said, yeah, I'm good, Vo. A few days later, he hung himself.
Out of all these guys, Shaka spent the longest time on death row, 42 years. So I wondered, did this place ever start to feel like home to him?
Man, you institutionalize where you think this is home. This ain't home. This is just a cage on which they holding you in.
When you think about home now, what do you see in your mind? What does home mean to you?
A dog in the backyard, out there in the backyard playing with the dog, walking around the block. My sister have a garden in the backyard, and I look forward to get my hands dirty in the garden. But the one thing that I really will do within a couple of days of being home is go fishing. I got to go fishing. I was telling my brother, I said, you know, when we go fishing, I'm going to catch a fish and then I'm going to release that fish. He said, what's wrong with you? I said, for every one of our family members that passed away while I'm locked up, I'm going to catch a fish and release that fish in their honor. He said, why don't you just name them that fish and keep them? Man, look, this is something that I done thought about all this time. I'm gonna release the fish. That's Mom going home. That's Papa. Papa went home. That's Lena. She went home. So,
How many fish would you have to release?
9.
9. Okay, so 9 fish. Okay.
Man, you ain't gonna slam that door?
No! Why would I do that?
As he left, Shaka kind of gently closed his door, and you were like,
I was like, man, we can do it better than that.
Shaka, did it feel the way you thought it would feel?
No, because I should have slapped it.
You gotta give a redo.
Now that felt better. That felt better.
How are you feeling now that we're leaving?
Good.
You want to get the heck out of here?
Yes. Oh, man. I'll never step foot in this place again.
When we left, I was still a little worried about Steve because his reaction compared to the other guys was so intense.
Well, it was very, very. So about a week later, I know y'all caught up with old Steve.
Exactly. And we'll hear about that after the break. Okay, the mic is hot. So can you introduce yourself?
Steve Crittenden,
Steve Crittenden.
formerly of Death Row.
Yes. So after we interviewed you, I have to admit I was still a little bit worried about you and how you reacted to going up there. So I'm just kind of curious what it was like for you, that experience and the post effects of it.
It was scary, to say the least, but it just made me feel anxious.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it again. Too many memories that people don't know about went on in there. I would not do it again.
Do you regret that you did it?
No.
I've interviewed a lot of guys in prison. Been doing this for, 8 years. You are the most present with what appears to be a struggle, which makes me think you're perhaps sensitive in a different way. Like your face is very readable that you are uncomfortable or struggling with something, most guys seem to mask it in a way.
No, I'm uncomfortable.
So is there anything specific that you want to talk about?
No.
No? All right. So I guess I need you to tell me that you're okay with me asking these questions.
Absolutely I am.
Okay.
I would tell you if I wasn't.
Okay. Do you note that your reactions to things are different than other guys in here?
No.
No.
How different?
Well,
In what way?
your body language, your facial expression, the way your voice is very halting, all suggest somebody who's really struggling with what they're thinking, and maybe difficult things to voice, but yet you seem like you really want to voice them.
I think that stems from the victim's family. I don't want to say anything that's going to upset them. Pretty much everything I have done gears around them, the victim's family. I don't want to bring up no more memories or hurt for them. Last time I saw him was in 2021 when I went and took the deal. Prior to that, I had never seen him. And I didn't know how hurt they were until April 16th, 2021. And it's right there on my heart. That's when I knew how badly I'd hurt him.
Yeah. That seems like that's a good thing to know.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what it's like when you take a human being's life. Haven't had a night's sleep since. And it eats at you.
Okay, this is a hard question to ask you. In your mind, can you even say their names?
Every day. Every single day.
What is your relationship with your victims? And I just mean what are they in you or to you? What are the conversations or the thoughts?
Then or now?
Maybe now.
That's tough to answer. That's real tough to answer. I don't know. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're a family I destroyed. I know that. I don't know.
Do you think the fact that your struggle to talk about this strikes me as appropriate and suggests to me the kind of person you are, that you are carrying this weight appropriately?
Not the kind of person I used to be. No, it's not the kind of person I used to be.
Yeah. So who was the person you used to be?
Didn't think about him.
Oh.
Didn't think about myself.
Oh.
I said around 2005 is when the transformation started. And it finally hit me what I had done. And when that realization came about, it wasn't easy at all.
Yeah.
Still a struggle.
Clearly. It's a little hard to hear, but I feel like I've got to mention this. That sound you hear, those are Steve's teeth kind of chattering and grinding. It seemed to me like it was a habit he had when he was getting particularly nervous about something. Do you think in the future you'll be in a place where this, I'm not going to say it's ever going to be easy, but that it won't have the weight? You'll be in a different emotional place?
No.
Like, this is your life.
The victims weigh heavily, heavily on me. I don't think I'll ever be the same. I know I won't be.
Do you have joyful moments in your life now, or light moments?
Yeah,
You do.
absolutely. Fleeting but joyful moments. But they're still right there.
Did you have anyone to talk to about this stuff?
Now that's one I'd rather not say.
Okay. Vo was supposed to come down for this interview, Earlonne, and he didn't show up. And he finally did. And apparently, we didn't know this, there was a yard down. So Vo had been sitting on the ground out in the yard. It was pouring rain that day for like 40 minutes while we were talking. So when he showed up, he was soaking wet, did not complain.
What?
Nope. And he was there ready to talk about his relationship with Steve. How long have you known each other?
A long time, huh? What year did you get here? I got here in 95.
86. So we've been knowing each other.
Since 95. There's a strong bond that's built. It's like being on an island.
So do you think you and Steve have that bond?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
I see a lot of good in Steve. It's just that sometimes he beat himself up a lot. And I've been where I beat myself up. So
I'm coming out of that funk, though. I really am.
What do you like so much about Vo?
His generosity. He actually does care.
When we were on death row, Steve had told us that both his parents had died recently, which was really hard on him. And I noticed when he came down for the interview, he brought this little book with him. It was almost like a pamphlet, and he was like cradling it in his hands.
It's a book my mother gave me. I wanted you to see.
I was going to ask you what you were
The
looking
Joy of
at.
Happiness.
Yeah, The Way to Happiness, Common Sense Guide to Better Living.
Yes.
Can I look in it, or is it private?
Absolutely. Had it for about
You've marked it
the
up.
last thing she gave me.
So you've got things that you've marked that are important to you.
Yes.
It looks very well read. I noticed you were,
I read it every day.
yeah, and also you were playing with it. Or it's like a comfort, maybe?
Yep.
A comfort item.
Exactly what it is. Never leave home without it.
So every
I'll
time
never
I
leave
run
my
into you,
keys
you'll have it
without
on you?
Yes. I had it that day. Did it. We were in East Block.
You did? Where was it? In your pocket?
Back pocket. One, it was the last thing my mother gave me, and two, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Happiness. There it goes. The way to happiness is much, much easier to travel with people one can trust. I want people to be able to trust me again. If that makes any sense.
Yes. But in all honesty, and are you someone who can be trusted now? Are you there?
To an extent, yeah. Yes.
That seemed like a good place to end. But before he left, Steve had something else he wanted to say.
There's one thing you asked me. I think it was, who do I talk to or turn to? There is someone. He's here. We do care about each other. For complete transparency's sake.
Sounds like he's talking about Vo, who's sitting right next to him, right?
Yep, exactly. Which is interesting because when I asked you before, you said you didn't want to tell me. I'd rather not say.
I don't, but I want to be honest with you. All right?
I deeply appreciate it. It's easy to forget when you're talking to Steve that the fact he's able to have these conversations at all is kind of astonishing, because if Steve's original sentence had been carried out, he'd be dead.
That's true for all these guys. I mean, Vo, Cujo, Shaka, and Steve, they were all slated to be executed.
Mm-hmm.
So are all of you completely against the death penalty?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Steve, Shaka, and Cujo were so quick and emphatic on this question, but Vo was giving it a lot of thought.
Struggling with that because, there are some people that
Deserve to be in prison, but do they deserve the death penalty?
there's people in role that because I got family out there, I want to see them, but in prison, right? But,
That's like freaking Pete.
yeah.
Erlon, Freaky Pete?
Yeah, I don't know this guy, but from the way that Shaka talks about him, Freaky Pete sound like a guy that you really don't want to get too close to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If I knew who he was on the street and I saw him coming into my neighborhood, the least I would do is escort him out the neighborhood with a stern warning not to come back. He was a predator.
Mm-hmm.
But who am I to say that he deserved to
Die.
die?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, can no one talk until Vo answers?
What's that?
I would love to just silence until he answers, because I can see he's really struggling.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sold, because, I understand, like, talking about, hey, he just lock him up, don't, because, I'm just,
If you believe that there are some people that deserve to be executed, say so, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Bottom line.
bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Erlon, I remember when this conversation happened, and I was thinking, it's curious. It made it sound like they'd never had this conversation before, how they actually felt about the death penalty.
Should it exist or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably avoided that topic, It's probably personal to some of them. When you have, imminent death lingering over your head at any given time,
Yeah, there was this mood to the whole experience and the conversations we had with those guys. It was very quiet and somber, and it felt quite interior, which I think makes sense considering, the topic of death row.
Yeah, and these guys lived very isolated lives, But in the next episode, we're going to be talking to women who were on death row as well.
Yep.
And it's a very different type of conversation.
Yes, I think the listeners are going to be really surprised.
That's coming up next time. Ear Hustle is produced by me, Nigel Poor, Amy Standen, Bruce Wallace, Rasan New York Thomas, and Kat Shucknick.
Shubnam Sigmund is our managing producer.
The producing team inside San Quentin includes Darrell Sadiq Davis and Thom Nguyen. The inside managing producer is Tony Tavoya. Thanks also to Adesteo San Pablo.
Thanks to Warden Andes at San Quentin, and Acting Warden Parker and Lieutenant Newborg at the California Institution for Women, as well as Warden De La Cruz and Lieutenant Williams at the Central California Women's Facility for their support of the show. Also, thanks to this woman here.
I am Lieutenant Giamari Berry, the Public Information Officer here at San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, and I approve this episode.
This episode was made possible by the Just Trust, building a smaller, more humane engine of justice and safety across the country.
Earlonne Woods sound designs and engineers the show, with help from Fernando Arruda, Harry Colhane, Darrell Sadiq Davis, and Bruce Wallace.
Music for this episode comes from Antoine Williams, David Jossie, Darrell Sadiq Davis, Fernando Arruda, Lee Jaspar, and me.
For more information about this episode, check out the show notes on Ear Hustle's website, earhustlesq.com.
Ear Hustle will always be free. But if you want more Ear Hustle without ads, sign up for Ear Hustle Plus. Subscribers get access to Ask Nigel and Earlonne Anything episodes and Where Are They Now episodes, where we follow up with folks who were on the show before and see how they doing now.
In our latest Ask Anything bonus episode, we answered listeners' questions about why there isn't a new Ear Hustle host inside San Quentin and how Earlonne's little twinsies are doing.
Hey!
And we also talked about if Scared Straight programs from the 80s are still around, plus a whole lot more. And up next, our friend Amika Moda. You know, she's been on Ear Hustle, and she was the subject of that 10-part series, Fire Escape, by our friends from Snap Judgment.
Yeah, it was dope.
It was.
Subscribe to Ear Hustle Plus at earhustlesq.com/plus or directly in Apple Podcasts.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a network of independent, creator-owned, listener-supported podcasts.
Discover audio with vision at radiotopia.fm.
I'm Nigel Poor.
I'm Earlonne Woods. Thanks for listening. Got me wondering now. Is that Hussein's last name for real? Whose? Bolt. Hussein Bolt. Oh, Hussein Bolt? Yeah. Is that really his last name, or is that like Alicia Keys? Like you changed your last name?
Alicia
Keys, that's not her name. No. John Legend, that's not his name?
Yeah, Keys sounds like made up. But who is Bolt? Who are you talking about?
Hussein Bolt. The fastest dude.
Oh.
Radiotopia. From